Lately I wish I down the sky. You want your finger at me, 'cause I don't know why. And I'll see you waiting.
Hey, good morning, I guess it is, and good night, everybody. It is midnight here on the East Coast. Just had a long day and came home. Wanted to do a little bit of painting on the IndieGoGo comic that's coming out. This is Shanth Enjeti art. I am Shanth Enjeti, for those of you curious how that is pronounced. I hope all of you are doing well. I am back at it like a bad habit, and working on this vampire horror comic that is a blend of Batman 1989, Hammer horror films, and let's see, what else? American Werewolf in London, and Evil Dead, probably. A little bit of Lovecraft thrown in there as well. So, thank you for joining me, and for those of you watching this later, thanks for checking it out. Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe. It does matter. And thank you for joining me on this journey. We're going to be launching this IndieGoGo comic soon. I'm just wrapping up a couple of things. I want to have a few more pages done so people can see what it is. And then I'm going to be becoming an ever-growing part of IndieGoGo comic crowdfunding. I funded my first 2 campaigns on IndieGoGo, and it's been a little while since I've done one because I've been wrapping up a bunch of stuff and wanted to decide whether I was going to be doing a comic book next, and of course I am now. And so it's been kind of a long time coming, and for those of you who've been following this channel, you've seen me working on it and developing this comic, and it sort of came out of nowhere. There we go. But I hope everybody's having a good evening. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more content on my Patreon, on Instagram, and on YouTube. There's going to just be a ton of stuff. So anybody who hasn't checked those out, do. My Instagram is at Shanth Enjeti Art. My Patreon is Shanth Enjeti Art. And as you know, my YouTube is here. I'm working in opaque watercolors and gouache right now, and I just had to stop watching a movie that I was watching while I worked because I was watching American Werewolf in London, and I realized if I had that playing in the background, I would get copyright struck, so I had to get rid of that. So here we are, just listening to the music and painting. I was watching a stream by the artist who did the cover for my first professional comic book gig when I was 17, Andy Smith. I was watching him stream earlier today, and you know, I think a lot of us are getting more serious about making sure the YouTube part of what we're doing is there to help promote and the comic book, and so that we can help promote other people who are like-minded in terms of the importance of independent comics and the importance of being able to create the stuff you want to create and entertain an audience. Who would have thought it? I'm sitting in a new chair that I'm in love with. I've had an absolutely terrible chair for the last, I don't even know how long, maybe 6 months. The bottom of this really cheap chair that I got, at least cheaply constructed, it certainly wasn't cheap, fell through. I know. It wasn't the best thing that has happened to me. And it was bad for my self-esteem, but I have part of it fell through. And it's been uncomfortable. I'm the kind of person who I will not spend any extra money on things, because I just sort of get frustrated that when I spend money on something and it doesn't work out. So I've been sitting in this uncomfortable chair that's just dreadful to work in. It's rough on your knees. It's because you're hanging weird inside of this thing. It's just one of those things. It's just I needed to do something about. But I recently left teaching to do my artwork and to get a break from a really long commute, 2 hours up and 2 hours back that I've been doing for about 7 or 8 years now. And I had a chair that I bought for that office that was really comfortable. So I was able to get a lot of my furniture and things out and get those home, which was nice, so that I didn't have to spend any extra money. And that I was able to get the most out of those things that I've purchased over the years. So, working off frame there, guys. Gotta make sure you remind me when I do that. There we go. So here I'm putting in the wrinkles on this creature's face. Now, whenever I'm putting in wrinkles on a creature like this, in the back of my mind, I'm going back to that 1980s kid looking at all of the incredible Rick Baker makeup effects and looking at all those great movies. And so that's one of the things that I think about when I'm working, is how can I put that stuff into my work? How can I get that sort of richness of detail? And if you look at this, I'll try to move this up a little bit closer. But if you look at this, and if I can hold it steady, there we go. You can see what I'm doing with the lines. And of course, when this is reproduced as a comic book, you're going to see that it gets a lot more detailed because this page is going to be reduced. Probably about, let me think here, probably about to 2/3 of this size. So it'll be pretty, pretty reduced when you see it. And I'll be announcing that crowdfunding campaign here, so if you have not subscribed, do subscribe to this channel, because this is going to be one of the first places here, and on my Instagram is where I'm going to announce it. And yeah, the trailer is going to drop here, and then the links for it are going to drop. And I may do a stream for the launch of it. I haven't decided yet. I don't know. I don't know how long that stream's going to be, but I may do something like an all-day stream or something to celebrate the launch of it. So there you go. So let's see how this goes. So here's more detail for the eye, and let me see if I can bring this camera down without making things worse. There we go. Move this over. Yeah, it's a little better, a little closer. There we go. And here comes the detail. There we are. There we go. Nice, that's coming together. Glasses are falling down my nose here. There we go. Now we've got it. So yeah, I'm going to definitely be doing more of these streams, and the thing that I found out is I've been lying to you guys. Apologies. I've been lying to my dear viewers all these years that I have been... years, it's just like a year. But ever since I started my YouTube channel. And I tried to set up a situation where when I was working on my desk, I could create a camera rig for it. But here's the deal. I don't work on a desk. I don't. I was listening to another IndieGoGo comic creator and CGer named John Malin, and John Malin was saying, yeah, I work on my, whoops, hit the camera. I work on in my lap, when I do my illustration work. So do I. I have a chair. I put, a tablet down, like not a tablet, but an actual pad of paper, and then I put my artwork on top of it, and this is how I work. I do not work on a desk, and I never have. And it's really funny, because it's weird. It takes a little while to get used to, filming your work or streaming your work while you do it, and it's not the most, well, for some people, it's not the most exciting thing, and I completely understand why. And I don't know why I was approaching it completely differently than I make my work, but I just couldn't figure out the camera setup. And I finally found a camera arm that allows me to work how I work. And then I found a way to set up my microphone and all this stuff so that it's the most natural way to show how I work. This is how I actually work, so you'll notice at least on these streams, it's been a lot easier, and I've been a lot quicker when I'm working because I'm not holding my hand and holding myself in a really awkward position. And gosh, I'll tell you, this new chair that I just picked up from my old office at work has really helped. I should have grabbed it sooner. But other things were slowing me down. But it was good. Took a family road trip up there today. Got my stuff. And getting my home studio and home office exactly where I want it to be. There's a lot more space. There's a lot more room to work. Here we go. There we go. Getting that eyeball to sit in there. Like, the thing about having a character like this... the camera's desperately trying to focus. The thing about having a character like this, is a vampire character, is that it gives you the chance... So I'm going to move this back a little bit more. It gives you the chance to really put in a lot of cool wrinkles and then give it that really nice creature makeup or creature puppet effect. And that's what I want when people read this stuff. The main thing is I want it to be fun, I want it to be entertaining, and I want it to have that kind of gnarly quality that, you know, the early Tim Vigil comics I read had, and that's not to say that the new ones don't have that quality, but I want it to have that really cool, interesting look. Let's see if I'm blocking the... Okay, good, I'm not blocking it too much. And the same thing goes with Todd McFarlane stuff. I was a huge Todd McFarlane fan. Loved Spawn, loved the Spider-Man stuff. My favorite stuff of his, interestingly enough, is his Hulk stuff. He did a couple of issues of Hulk, and Hulk 340, when I saw it for the first time, that cover, and then I read the book, that's what made me want to be a comic book artist, was seeing Hulk 340. I have all these... It's so funny because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I never changed my answers on that. My influences, I mean, I know the story. It's so vivid to me. If someone were to ask me, what's the first comic you went to a comic book store to buy? I would say Punisher Limited Series #2. If somebody says, what's the first comic book that made you want to be a comic book artist? I would say Hulk 340. If someone asked me, what is the comic book that inspired you to make your first indie comic book, or when I was 14, I would say Grips by Tim Vigil. Illustrated by Tim Vigil. All that stuff you can see in my work. And it's amazing how, for anybody who's had one of those really deep connections with that moment that they wanted to be a comic book artist or illustrator, they know those moments, they know those artists, and they know the things that made them, want to do what they do for a living. And certainly what they do to live. I mean, for me, I've had every opportunity and made every effort to not, to try to stop doing comics from time to time, out of the difficulty of it, the frustration of it, the lack of time and all that other stuff with another job, and I still do it. I just can't ever stop doing this. I love it. It's too important to me. Comics were... I could say comics saved my life, and I think there's something to be said for that. But comics, at the very least, changed my life. And so did those comic book artists who inspired me. No doubt in my mind. I wouldn't be the person I am today without comics. Let's see here. Let's rotate that a little bit. The more straight on of a view I get, the easier it is for it to focus and figure out the colors, and then I have to adjust my glasses so I can see what's going on. There we go. See what I was doing with that character over there. So I've illustrated this character on previous pages, and I wouldn't say that I'm always trying to keep things on model perfectly, because I think there's a certain kind of cartoony quirkiness that I want to have in my work. I remember looking at, you know, Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man and some of the more quirky characters that he drew, and they would change from frame to frame. You knew it was the same character, but if the illustration would benefit from things being a little bit more out there and a little bit more crazy, Todd would always, you know, make the quirky illustration over making sure everything was perfectly on model, and I really agree with that. I don't think people should get lost in what the character is, but I think people should, it's a drawing, and it should have a, more so than, it's not about accuracy or inaccuracy, it's about it being fun or it not being fun. So my hope is that everything I draw is going to give you that really exciting quality that comic books are capable of doing more than any other art form, in my opinion. There we go. Right up to the border and where that hand is. So if you look at this panel, you get a real sense for, you know, what the characters are going to do and what it's going to be when I bring it to finish. If I raise up this camera just a little bit more, and then I angle it out a little bit more, you can see what I'm working on. So this is the top part of this page, and the bottom part is this figure right here, and you can see all the detail on the cape that I'm doing right there. And then here's the characters who are escaping and running up this stairwell. Come on, focus, you. There we go. And then this is a character who's just been slain by this character. And just to make sure everybody understands that that's what just happened, I'm gonna mix up a little bit of red. Oh my god, it just sounded like Bob Ross there. I'm going to mix up a little bit of red. And I'm going to put that on the sword there, because that's how it's been on all the previous panels. So, here you go. Although I can't see Bob Ross saying that. Let's put a little bit of red on there for the blood. But you never know. I mean, you know. That's the key. There we are. So right now, when I'm working, that's the approach that I'm going to take for putting this stuff together. Right there. Face, blood on the sword, and that'll help lead you as an audience member to be able to read and see what's going on. There we go. Get even a little bit more red on there. And that way you'll be able to read it. Let me see here. I've got that guy's hand, and that hand's going to be a little bit lighter. Mix some more stuff up. Let me see here. Let's see, I don't need to move that. Sorry about that, gang. I'm gonna mix in a little bit more green here to get these knuckles to stand out. Let me see if those are on camera. There we go. All right. There we go. Let's see here. All right, so I've got that hand roughed in pretty well, and I've got these figures roughed in. So the next step of what I'm going to be doing going forward is to finish roughing in this figure that is right there. I'm going to finish roughing in her face. So I've got to finish this part of the figure. And I've already got this guy roughed in, this figure roughed in, this one's pretty well roughed in. These two are in pretty good shape because they're going to be really small, just to give you a sense how tiny those figures are. Really tiny figures. So they're not going to be the central focus. But I do want there to be a significant amount of detail to create that immaculate reality, as Akira Kurosawa used to call it. That idea, that sense of believability, that you know you're watching something that's not real, whether it's a movie or reading a comic book. You know you're not seeing something that's completely real, but you're drawn into it because of the elegance and sophistication with how it's been created. And that's not something that you really get when people are being deliberately crude or unskilled. To me, that's, you know, it's there's something very cynical about that to me. I'm not a big fan of. I mean, sometimes people bring a level of art to it, but I think we've officially gotten way past that. I look at the comic book artists and illustrators of bygone days, and their skill set and their ingenuity is just way beyond any intellectualized attempt at style and you know, creating something that feels, you know, original or cutting edge. I think right now it all just kind of starts to blend together. About the only thing that stands out to me right now is when I see somebody with skill. That kind of makes people stand out from the rest when you see it. Here we go. Hopefully I'm still on camera. There we go. So here is that panel being roughed in. So I've got that hand, and then the next thing I got to paint in this panel is a hand reaching down and picking up the book. If you look really carefully, right in here, you can see that he's carrying this book that was from the previous page, running up the stairs with her, and then she's going to come after them and chase them or send some bats flying after them. And that's going to lead us into the next part of this story. So again, guys, I know it's under 30 minutes and it's a short stream tonight, but it has been a really long day. So I hope everybody's out enjoying their Friday. Take care, and I want to do this before I forget. Here is the new outro, and everybody take care, and I will see you soon. All right, here you go. Kick off! Ain't got nothing! Oh!